Hello everyone and welcome back to the WM32Football podcast. This week we're going to be talking all things Manchester United, and we're going to try and understand what it is that exactly has gone wrong at Old Trafford, and potentially what can be done to fix the problems with Britain's second most successful club. So, Connor, where's the change been, should I say, at Manchester United?
Well, let's backtrack about 7 or 8 years to the summer before Fergie's last year, when he sat the lads down in the changing rooms. Rio Ferdinand's come out and said this, a lot of players come out and said this, and gone. We walked into that dressing room, heads down after the Sunderland game, after City had won the league at the death. He turned around and went, look at all those lads out there laughing at you. Over pre-season, go out there and show them what we can do. Next year, they also brought in Van Persie, went on and won the league, but that squad wasn't phenomenal. And you saw when Fergie left, and they brought in obviously Moyes, you saw the deterioration of those players because they didn't have the man manager that was Fergie, who could get you to run through brick walls for him. So for me, it started at that point of as soon as Fergie left, and Moyes came in with a different way, because you saw it when Unai Emery came in for Arsene Wenger. It was an uplift because of the change of play, because we were playing poorly, where Fergie had that team for the last God knows how long. Obviously he was there for 27 years, but for the last 4 or 5 years consistently playing to a level. When a new manager comes in that isn't of that calibre of a Fergie, you're going to have a drop off. It's inevitable.
Do you think as well Moyes potentially wasn't helped by the fact that when he came, he had new chief executive in, because it was no longer David Gill, it was Ed Woodward who's in charge now, but also I think a lot of the experienced heads had gone.
Yeah.
Ferdinand had gone to QPR, Vidic had gone to Inter, Scholes had retired. So you think that didn't help Moyes' situation?
Yeah, well, you look at it, but they had two possibly the best young centre-backs at that time, English talent, in the Chuckle brothers, Phil Jones and Chris Smalling. But let's talk about Dead Woodward and his absolute media power. Don't get me wrong, Manchester United are a massive club because of their media output at times as well, with the whole when Pogba came back, the social media outburst that was, their Chevrolet deals, their wine deals, their deals with just absolutely everyone and anybody because of Ed Woodward. That was massive for him, but he is a commercial person. He's not a guy that behind the scenes is a footballing man. Like, we've all probably seen a video of where he sits there and goes, Schweinsteiger's coming. That will send shivers down the backs of the opposition players. I'm sorry, he was in his 30s and could barely run. So they made poor decisions from the top down.
But then they tried, obviously Moyes' time at Man United came to an end, and they went for experience, they went for a name, they went for somebody who's virtually won it all when it comes to club football anyway, Louis van Gaal, who brought in Schweinsteiger. So what sort of happened and what went wrong in Van Gaal's time? Because a lot of United fans will go, the football's boring,
yeah,
and whatnot, but actually he won them the FA Cup,
yeah,
which was a trophy that they hadn't won for a very, very long time.
Yeah, but you look at that, it was some of the right players coming in at the wrong time for him. So you saw the outbreak of Marcus Rashford in that season. You saw Jesse Lingard, who, as Fergie predicted, would hit his peak at around 23, 24 and start playing well. And he had a very good season that year. Not so much this year. You saw Di Maria, who was easily the best player the past year at Madrid. Man match in Champions League final, playing out of position in central midfield and looking comfortable, playing amazingly for Argentina. Like, you saw a big name come in like that and you're thinking, wow, United are actually going to do something this year. Then they partnered it with a defensive coach, or a more defensive style of coach than what a Fergie or Moyes was. So you had that, they wanted to sit back, play a different style of football, which was quite boring. But yeah, they went out there and won the FA Cup, but they they were favourable in that sort of run towards the cup final. You see it for certain teams, you get luck in those cup runs, and to get Palace in the final when you could have easily come up against an Arsenal who at that point were running the FA Cup, a City who were coming into dominant times, a Chelsea, a Liverpool who were starting to get back to what they are now. So they had quite a lucky draw to get up there, but to win it you still got to go out there and perform, and you saw Lingard and Rashford break through that season. I think that gave the fans something else, because we said this before, and like it's sort of happening at other clubs. When the football isn't great, but you're seeing youth academy products coming through, you get given more time. So he was possibly given a little bit of, fair enough. The football's boring, but you're producing young players, and that's what probably Ollie's getting now as well. So you've got that sort of side of it.
And then obviously Van Gaal, after winning the FA Cup, leaves. A certain name comes in on the blue half of Manchester in Pep Guardiola.
Yeah.
And the red half opts for Mourinho.
See,
what sort of happened then? Was it did Man United hit almost a panic button to get Mourinho in?
So you could say this is, everyone goes, there was a shift in power in Manchester when City won the first title. For me, Pep picking City was the shift in power, because you saw easily at that point as well the best manager in world football, picking a side that wasn't a big side in England at this point. It was getting there, but not the team it is now, or the team it was last 2 seasons. And then they've gone, okay, who's the only person that has been able to get over Pep consistently? The man who Guillaume Balaguer said is the man that made Pep lose his hair due to stress, and it's Jose Mourinho. It's like they press a massive panic button in a short-term manager, because we all know what Mourinho's going to like. First season, you're going to be competitive. You might win something. They went on and won the Mickey Mouse treble, as they said it to Liverpool, wasn't it? The FA, the
Community Shield
and the Europa League. So it wasn't even the FA Cup, was it? It was the League Cup, yeah.
League Cup.
And then second season, you expect him to try and win a title. He said his best feat ever was finishing second to City. And then obviously third season, absolute explosions, which you know you're going to get with Mourinho. Where if you looked at it, there was Thomas Tuchel wasn't signed to anyone at that specific. Everyone said he was going to PSG, but no one knew exactly when it was going to happen. You could have gone in for him. You could have gone for anyone at that point who was a long-term manager, who could have got something done there. You could have even gone out and, like it's been spoken about, that a few teams should have gone and done it, but United mainly at this point. After Conte had left Chelsea, Conte's always been a manager that gets the best out of his players when it's revenge and wanted to prove someone a point. If he'd gone to United, I wouldn't have put it past him possibly winning the league, because he is that guy. He made Victor Moses look like Dani Alves. Absolutely unreal. So that period was not great for United, and that's when they had they started going through their banter era, as we like to call it.
But
and you
banter
start to
era,
see,
but they're still in Europe.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. But you look at the signings that United have made over the last few years. So obviously Di Maria then sold him. Matic, they got Matic at the wrong time of his career. If they got Matic 2 or 3 years earlier, everyone would be going, yeah, fair play. But you got someone who is slowing down, not progressing as a footballer, and it also has no sell-on value. They got Fellaini and luckily managed to ship him off. They brought in Alexis when it was said by Arsenal fans when he went to United, he's slowing down. You could see the drop off. He was involved with 50% of Arsenal's goals, or around that, the season before. When he comes back, his shots have dropped off, his dribbles have dropped off, his progression regains have dropped off, his pressing style has dropped off, because he was so tired. And you could just see it, because he hadn't had a year off in about 4 years. He was just drained. And United went, we're going to slap him, 450k a week? Absolutely ridiculous. And they go, don't get me wrong, they got rid of Mkhitaryan, probably the best time of his career, to sort of ship him out. and they didn't really, under Mourinho, progress many players. If you look at it, Shaw was in and out of the team, was apparently too fat. Phil Jones became a meme. Chris Smalling went through about 40 different hairstyles. David De Gea was the only person in that squad that has any credibility. He decided to try and pick a fight with United's golden boy Paul Pogba, who is now hated by everyone for no reason at all. It's just nothing at United over the last 7 years makes sense.
So then, if we take it forward to Ollie's time, are we starting to see some form of a clearer vision and a clearer plan in terms of recruitment? But it's just not transferring on to the pitch necessarily, given their start to the season.
Well, I said this to you and I put it in because we're in a group chat with a fair few people, a couple of them United fans. I said when he got the job it was too early. It was a fairy tale. They'd just beat PSG. They'd made this comeback. And you were there like, don't give him the job yet. Wait till his little down period, which is going to happen. Give him the job at the end of the season. Fine, happy with that. But it was on the fairy tale of that, and then also players are coming out and going, I'm not going to sign a new contract unless Ollie gets a contract. So they had their hands tied a little bit. Because you look at that point, everyone was going, why don't they go out and get Poch at the end of the season? Let Ollie just take over and then go get Poch or go get someone or X, Y and Z. And then the further and further they got into Ollie's tenure, the more it sort of started to fall apart. And you could see the cracks in their play even when they were winning games. They didn't look amazing. Paul Pogba was highest, most goals, most chances created, top assists, most pressure regains. Still was called one of their worst players last season. Rashford, who has never got over 15 goals in a season, is supposed to be a man that's going to propel them back into the top four. He's only 21. And to think about it, he's only 21. He's got a long career ahead of him, and people are putting that pressure on him now. How many great strikers at 21, other than Messi and Ronaldo, have had that much pressure on them at that age and actually gone through and done what they've gone on to do? Like, even if you look at like your boy Harry Kane, his best years were after he turned 22, 23, when he was able to adapt and then was in a more physical like condition. Like, you've seen him bulk out and fill out a lot since when he burst onto the scene. But he doesn't look like he can handle being United's number 9 yet, which is worrying, because United are going, you're our guy. They sold Lukaku, who's 15-20 goal season. They got rid of Sanchez, rightfully, and now they're backing on Rashford, Martial, probably Mason Greenwood, and Dan James. So it's good in the form of their youth players. They're going to get minutes. They're going to get better over the coming years. I think that's what United fans are happy about with Ollie. They're happy that he's bringing through youth players, that they've gone for young English players in the transfer window instead of like a 27-year-old random or a Di Maria or this or that. They haven't gone for the high caliber players. They've gone for players just below that level that they can make into that player. You look when they did it with Ronaldo. They went out and got someone who wasn't at the superstar level at the time, but made him into that player. I'm not saying Dan James is going to be that player, but if he has the right coaching, he can be to a level where he is a United starter week in, week out.
And do you think as well, obviously United have had quite a few managers in such a short space of time over recent years. Have they been able to have the time to put right what the previous manager had? I'm not saying that they've done wrong, because even David Moyes under his time, he was finishing 7th, which is drastic for Manchester United, but there's still a lot of teams worse than them.
Yeah.
But have they been given enough time to really be able to implement what they want to do at the football club?
Not really, because you look at it every couple of years, United are going, let's hit a panic button and get a new manager. And you look at it like, people already calling for Ollie's head. People calling for Mourinho's head when he went, finishing second is a good thing. People were calling for Van Gaal's head after a season because it wasn't a good brand of football. People were calling for Moyes' head after 3 months. Like, they've just gone from a manager who was there for 27 years, and over the next 7 years they've gone through, 4 or 5 managers? Like, how are... Don't get me wrong, people go, oh, players have an easy job, they just go out and kick ball and get paid and that's it. You've got to constantly adapt to each manager that comes in, their different way of coaching, especially if you do it mid-season. That's why United had that peak last season where they looked like they might finish in the top 4, when they looked like they were playing good football. It's because Ollie came in and it was not maybe a tactical, it was a tactical switch, but he made the players love playing for United again. And he made them want to play for United again. And as soon as he got the full-time job, you saw the players go, something clearly changed because the players dropped off. And I wouldn't put it past the players to start turning their back and on Ollie when things start going wrong and making it a point where it's not our fault, it's him. They did it with Mourinho, even though Mourinho is one that does it to the players as well. Some of them were there when Van Gaal got sacked. The players have got to take responsibility as well, because you've seen some of those players that have been there from Van Gaal's time and come through. They've seen if we underperform, it's a manager that gets blamed. It's not us. It's the manager. It's the manager that will lose the job, not us. We're fine. And this is coming from someone who is not a United fan, and I'm not, never been a big United, I've never really liked him because growing up as an Arsenal fan, it was Arsenal United, and then the rest. So it's amazing to see how the both clubs have fallen now, and like you look at the game, the 1-1 a couple of weeks ago, it was literally, it was abysmal. It was an embarrassment of a game, and to think those two teams were constantly up there challenging for titles under two of the greatest managers in the club's history and in the Premier League history. And now you look at them now, both of them under new management are struggling to have a competitive, non-boring fixture. And it would not surprise me if certain players in that dressing room start turning their backs on Ollie if results carry on this way. If they go out and lose against Liverpool this weekend and get trounced, like easily could happen. We saw last night, De Gea went down injured at Spain, got taken off. You're looking at Romero in goal, and he's going to have a Ben Foster against Spurs kind of day, where he saves absolutely everything. Like, to keep it respectable at least. Because this could be for it comfortably. Like, you're looking at Shaw's possibly going to be back, Wan-Bissaka's going to be back, Pogba, Rashford, Martial. They're all apparently going to be in the squad. Then you're losing the person who's been your best player and most consistent player for the last 5 years. Like, has rarely missed games, has always been at the top of his level until maybe end of last season when it dropped off. But even at the start of this season, has been a class keeper. And you're going to be missing him against the hardest team in the league. It's worrying.
Has Ole been helped though? I know you mentioned there, potentially 4 or 5 players coming back from injury, but I mean this season especially, has Ole been a little bit unfortunate with injuries?
Yeah, massively so. But that then you can also put it that way of, you're going to get injuries over a season. You know it. The only team that I've not seen had a major injury to one of their big players over the last couple of seasons has been Liverpool. And Klopp maybe asked more out of them than any other manager, and they haven't got injured. There is going to be burnouts and injuries probably over the next year or two, but you'll be able to see it. Like Arsenal saw that, rather Aubameyang are lucky that's going to get injured, so they brought in Pepe. Yeah, he hasn't bedded in yet, but he's only 8 games into a season, having to adapt to a new league and stuff like that. United would have started to see that players have been picking up little injuries here and there, and Knox and Pogba missed parts of last season, Rashford missed parts of last season, and they're 2 massive players for United. You would have thought they would have gone out there and got a backup, but no, he's been like, Scott McTominay's going to be my backup to Pogba. Nowhere near the player has. It's a really low ceiling of ability level, I personally think. He's a volume passer. He's not got great defensive numbers, as I brought this up the other week. 3.5 tackles and interceptions a game. Looking at Pogba, averages a game 5 or 6. Wan-Bissaka 8 or 9 tackles and interceptions a game. That's your right back is outdoing your defensive midfielder in tackles and interceptions a game. Any other club, he'd be benched, but because he's come up through the academy and stuff like that, he maybe gets a little bit less of being digged out by the fans. But like, if Pogba had those numbers, the fans would be going mental. Pogba has decent numbers anyway, and the fans just for some reason hate him. But yeah, they have been unlucky of injury, but you would have seen them come in. It's like Tottenham would have seen last year their midfield was weak. If they pick up injuries like Dele's had this season, Eriksen's been out of form, they went out and got Lo Celso on loan with an option or an obligation to buy, and Tango and Ndombele. 2 high class midfielders. You're telling me United can compete with the wage that they pay?
I think there was obviously rumours that they were in for Bruno Fernandes as a midfield player, certainly. You know, rumours as well, Mandzukic coming in January. So,
yeah, but
how much is it going to take to sort of fix what's going on at Manchester United? I don't know if you saw, but on the Saturday social, Spencer done his Man United team, and is it going to take something of that volume, so to speak?
Yeah, he was talking about 700 million when he Spencer was. To be fair, I wouldn't be surprised. Spencer has normally called a lot of quite big things, obviously, with what he's done on social media as well. But United have gone out and spent that money. United have gone out and done that for the last 7 years, and they're possibly in a worse position now than they ever have been. As you look at it, don't get me wrong, Ollie's a legend at that club. But if you look at other clubs, sort of like people that they were getting as a boss, as a managerial level, they are a higher calibre already. Like, I'm not disrespecting the Norwegian league. But you're looking, people are talking about Patrick Vieira at City or Arsenal. He's gone out and coached in America. He's coached under Pep. They're looking at Mikel Arteta, coached under Pep. Looking at Freddie Ljungberg, who's coached academy and at Arsenal now. Thierry Henry, he didn't have a great time at Monaco, but went out there and done it. You're looking at Frank Lampard had half a season at Derby, went out and did it because it was in a more competitive league. Like, you look at Stevie G at Rangers. I'd say if Liverpool we need another manager under Klopp, Stevie would be perfect for him. You're looking at Ollie and you're going, he hasn't got that managerial experience. Yeah, he managed Cardiff for a little bit.
And they went down.
So that is, people will try and come at me with that argument of, yeah, but he managed Cardiff in the Prem. That was a Cardiff that were basically nailed down. No matter what he did, they were down. Like, he could have gone out there and won all his games, and then, I would have my hands up and go, yeah, fair play, he's gone and done it in a decent league. But other than that, he's been in Norway, and he hasn't been great in Norway either. Like, one of the teams that he managed over there won their first league title since the year before he came.
Yeah, I think that's Mulder, the team that he left. So
that sort of shows you the sort of ability level that he's coaching at. Don't get me wrong, he's a young coach, he's going to get used to it. But you're telling me United couldn't have gone and got who's the guy that's just gone to Leipzig?
Nagelsmann.
Right, he turned down Bayern to go to Leipzig. You're telling me that, yet again, United, with the money that they pay people, couldn't have turned his head at any point. Or Ralph Rangnick, or Marco Rosa. Any of those managers come into United, you're sitting there going, Jesus Christ. Like, these are actually of a decent ability calibre level. They've done it in Germany, which has always been known as a tough league for coaches and a good league to get coaches out of. United's just a mess. Their injuries have been bad, their recruitment has been bad, their managerial picking has been bad. The fact they don't have a director of football is abysmal. And they're looking at it going, Edwin van der Sar can come in and do it. And as you said earlier, he could go in and do it. But at Ajax, that's not his main job. That's Overmars' job. So you're going to expect him to go in where he only does half of the job there or less and go and do a full job at United. Or like someone brought it up, I can't remember who brought it up, and went, why don't they give it to Ferdinand? He watched a lot of football. Me and you could go for it then. We watch a fair bit of football, don't we?
Yeah.
Like, bit unreal that still. But they've had that investment of what, near on $1 billion over the last few years.
Yeah.
Or it might be over $1 billion now, and they haven't spent it wisely. So we're going, yeah, here's 700 million. Here's the players you need to go and buy. They're not going to do it. Like they went in for Dybala apparently. He was never going to go to United. There was talks of him going to Spurs. He wasn't going to go to Spurs. He was happy. That one hurts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He wasn't going to leave Juve because of the wages he was. United were probably the only team that would have given him the wages he was demanding. Then Mandzukic, you're going to get in a 33-year-old striker who isn't that prolific anymore, as a backup to Rashford, who isn't that prolific anyway. It's questionable. Then they spoke about, well, they got in Wan-Bissaka, who me and you both love.
Yeah.
Wingers don't like him, we know that much.
Yeah.
So, if you look at their signings from this season, Dan James is their only attacking signing.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's got a good goal record so far, but he's not going to keep that up. Then, who else they sign of it? Harry Maguire and Wan-Bissaka. So yeah, their defence has got better, personnel-wise, but I wouldn't say it's better than last season. It's kind of not great last season, it's not great again.
Is it then, do you think, obviously, the lack of a football person at board level
Yeah.
is almost what's killing, I wouldn't say killing United, I think that's a bit harsh, but almost trying to damage what they're trying to do and what they're trying to achieve. Obviously we know that, you know, for the last sort of couple of seasons they've been after one, and you know, you mentioned Rio, who's been linked with it, Patrice Evra,
Yeah.
Steve Walsh, who was at Leicester at one point, has been linked with it. Paul Mitchell, he was once at Spurs and has been at Leipzig, has been linked with it. Like you say, Edwin van der Sar has said one day that he'd love to do it, but probably not yet. You know, and I think there's been a lot of talk of it has to be a Man United person. It's got to be someone that loves the club. Well, how about just the best person that's suited for the job?
Yeah.
Is that role key to Man United progressing, going forward, and trying to almost carry on with the rebuild? Because Ollie has said that there's going to be a rebuild, and I think he's done it so far to a certain degree. I wouldn't say it's, obviously he shipped out Lukaku, who he wasn't in favour of. Got rid of Alexis, who he openly said needed a move. Got rid of the likes of Valencia, Herrera, and loads of other sort of deadwood. But I think is it for United to continue this rebuild? Is a director of football, sporting director, head of football operations, whatever you want to call it, is that the person that's needed to assist with it?
You look at it, it is, because there isn't many clubs, if at all any, that don't have a sporting director of football, whatever, in place. So because what you need for that is that person goes, we're going to go after this type of player, we're going to go after this, because if this manager doesn't work, the next manager isn't left with a load of dross, right? And that's what's happened to, unfortunately, Ollie, and that's what's not helped him, because Herrera letting them run down his contract was abysmal. Matic won't be able to ship him because no one's going to want, what was he, 33?
31, I think.
Oh Jesus, he's digressed a lot. That's scary. Juan Mata, he's, don't get me wrong, a fabulous player, but he's not the player he once was. Ashley Young is not a defensive player. He should have been sold years ago. And letting go Herrera, who has gone to PSG and been pretty good. Like, he hasn't slowed down. Don't get me wrong, everyone goes, oh yeah, he makes a lot of tackles and interceptions. But you look how many times he's actually out of position. No wonder he is. Like, he doesn't have that positional sense because he used to be a cam. And now you're going to try and get him to play in a defensive midfield role. And that's why I said to you on the first episode, United should have gone and got a CDM like Santiago out of Stuttgart. Or even if you look at, they've got a young player coming through, James Garner.
Yeah.
30% of their youth academy goals from CDM. Plays 71% of their minutes at a under 23 level, and you know I'm not a big fan of the under 23 league. So clearly they've got talent there, but it's he's got the stats, but has anyone actually seen him do it? Like, unless he gets given a chance, but for some reason he's not really getting over Scott McTominay, who is a flawed player. Poor man's Declan Rice, and that's saying something. There's just no one way. There's no vision at United anymore. No matter who. When Fergie was in the job, what would we say every season? They'd go out and sign a first team quality player and a player that can come up for the academy. Yeah. Who do they sign now?
Maguire, you could argue, is
first team
quality. Wan-Bissaka, first team quality, and then they've had Greenwood progress through.
What about the season before that?
Season before that, they brought in Lindelof. Was it?
Yep.
Yeah, Lindelof, and who else? Well, I think Rashford had
come up, but I mean,
started to play a bit more
to push that team on for the next 4 or 5 years. Lindelof, Maguire possibly, but he's still what, 24?
Maguire's 26.
Oh, what? Wan-Bissaka still being young, Dan James being young, but then you don't have, say, a world class winner going into that squad. Like, no matter what. United is still a massive club and one of the biggest clubs in England, if not the world. Second most decorated club in England after Liverpool. It's not going to be hard for them to sign players. People will sign for the name alone. People support United for the name alone of going, I'm a United fan. But they haven't signed those players to help progress the team on. What, their last big world-class signing was Di Maria. You look at the signs around that. You've got Fellaini, Matic, Mata.
Pogba,
You could give him that one. But who was signed around him to help him? Because one player can't make that team better. Because you're looking at Pogba in that midfield. Who have you got around him? You've got Matic, McTominay, Lingard, Pereira, Fred. They've got a Flintstone in midfield.
So, who would you like? It's a difficult question because you're not really a Man United fan, but who is going to come in at Man United? Who would you like to see in at Man United that's then going to take them to
the next level?
That level where they are not, I believe, 16 points off Liverpool with 8 games in.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if you put City and United's points together, they are 1 point above Liverpool. City and United. That should not be happening. As you said, I'm not a United fan. Thank God. Support a slightly and only slightly better club at this point. But we're talking player-wise or manager-wise? Because manager-wise, want both.
Yeah.
Manager-wise, a lot of United fans won't understand where I'm coming from because they don't watch football outside of Manchester, but I'd like to see Marco Rose there. I think class manager, proven to play a good brand of football as well. A United fans going, no one plays the United way anymore. He plays a good brand of football that can be suited to the Man United way. Player-wise, their attack is good. If you play Pogba as a 10, bin Lingard off, play Dan James, Martial and Rashford, then that front four there is scary. Like, matching up against any side, there's going to be chance created, and if you play against the right side, you're going to score goals. Then you're looking at their CDMs. I wanted Santiago to come in the summer, and they didn't go and get him. So you're looking at someone. They could have even gone out and got Thomas Partey. What is buyout clause, like 40-50 million?
Right.
That is the perfect player to play alongside Pogba. Great defensive numbers, great progressive numbers. Like, he could go out there and do that job very easily. But 40 and 50 million, you're telling me United aren't looking to pay that because they're wanting to buy young English players. I'm sorry, none of the young English players will be looking to go to United. Because because they're either at Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, or Liverpool, or City. Like you look at the under 23 game or 21 game you watched last night.
21s last
Under
night.
21s, Eddie Nketiah scored a hat trick. Phil Foden, baller. Cam Hudson-Odoi, baller. All that. Two of them are at big clubs. Obviously, Phil Foden being the exception. Right, and they're going to get minutes. You look at, say, you're telling me United couldn't have gone out there and got Danny Ceballos on loan for a season.
Would they have wanted him on loan? That's the
Well,
if Madrid was selling,
well,
Danny
that's the thing.
Ceballos was a Tottenham player and not an Arsenal player.
Well, that's the thing. Madrid were trying to sell him. Everyone goes, Madrid weren't trying to sell him. He turned down the whole being sold thing because he wanted to come back and play for Madrid.
I think as well his under 21 tournament helped him.
Yeah.
And
But let's
Madrid,
face
I think,
it,
moved the goalposts.
He's still not going to go back there and be a Real Madrid starter because Modric will be there till he's 45. Kroos won't ever leave, and Casemiro just a bit like a fine wine, isn't he? Just getting better and better. So you need a defensive midfielder. I would have gone for Santiago, but they're probably going to go for, or Thomas Partey, but they're probably going to go for Declan Rice for 60-70 million, or Longstaff, whichever one, for 40 to 50 million, which is just going to tell which they're just going to do, and then everyone's going to be sitting there going, you're in the exact same position you were when Moyes was at the club. You're signing the wrong type of player for the style you want to play. They want to play open, expansive football. Declan Rice doesn't do that. Neither of the Longstaff players want to do that. Like, it's not built for what United are supposed to be. But Thomas Partey is. Like, he's proved that at Atletico, who are naturally a defensive team, but is still putting up good offensive numbers. Their back four's okay. There isn't many better goalkeepers out there other than De Gea, that aren't at big clubs already. So you're looking at Ederson, who's missed I heard today, 2 games out of 83 over the last 2 seasons and provided 2 assists as a goalkeeper is an absolute joke. Alisson, class keeper at Liverpool. Those are the 2, obviously Ter Stegen at Barca. There isn't many other better goalkeepers out there at the moment. You still put De Gea in your top 5. So you're looking at that midfield. That midfield is made up of Pogba turning up. Otherwise they're getting run out every game. So what I'm saying, they need Marco Rose as a manager, Thomas Partey in, a backup left back, whoever that's going to be. A backup right back, really. Well, no, Axel Tuanzebe possibly.
But he's more of a centre half.
Yeah, but he can play out there. And he has done it before, so if they need him, because you're looking at Lindelof and Maguire being the centre half partnership for next whole season. If Wan-Bissaka gets injured, which is rare, you look at Axel Tuanzebe could step out there. Who's their left back behind Luke Shaw? Ashley Young?
And obviously you got Dallo as a
yeah.
right back option as well.
Yeah. He could also be thrown out there, but you're looking maybe a backup left back, definitely a central defensive midfielder, because Pogba's best time, and I'm looking at his best time being the France World Cup winning squad, when he had Kante behind him and he was allowed to do anything he wanted. He was the best player in that France squad. And then, so you want maybe a Thomas Partey or a Santiago to come in and do that defensive work.
Here's a name I'm going to throw at you. Emre Can.
Would he
not involved in Juve's
Yeah.
Champions League squad. Obviously, no, he's got ties to
Very
Liverpool.
annoyed at that as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, so obviously, no, he's got his Liverpool ties, but at the end of the day, that
Money is
could
money,
potentially
innit?
be an option.
Yeah. They could throw it at the wall and see if it sticks. But that doesn't seem to be United signing at the moment, is it? None of the signings that me or you have suggested to any United fan over the last 6 months has been a United signing. Because now we've got to sign young English players that have a ceiling that they're going to hit in the next year or 2. Because Matty and Sean Longstaff are going to be basic lower table to mid-table CDMs. Declan Rice, like mid-table CDM, and everyone hates that I say that, but there isn't a standout quality in them. Who else out there that's young British in, because they'll want Prem proven, especially if you're going in as a CDM. Like, you probably dip into the lower leagues and pull a couple out and hope that they bang. They tried that with Dan James, it's worked so far. But if they want an actual solid CDM to help that squad, which is the gap that they're missing, they need to go abroad and sign someone. But they're not going to do it. Because unless they do it, it's going to have to be a commercial behemoth that Deadwood can get behind. I call him Deadwood because he's killing that club from the top down.
You say that, but then United financially,
yeah,
are in the best position that they've arguably ever been in.
But then, yeah, that's great. But what is the most important thing to a football team?
To a football team or to a football club? Because there's arguments for and against here, and with myself being a Tottenham fan, I get this all the time because of the chairman that we have, Daniel Levy. You don't want... could be a case where a club could end up like Bury.
Yeah, very.
And do you want that? Nobody wanted Bury to happen.
Yeah.
So for it to be one of a club of the size of, because Man United's debt is massive.
Yeah.
And Woodward has done very, very well to shrink it. It's still big, but it's not as big as it was when, like I say, it's shrunk massively since the Glazers have been there. So I think off the pitch, Woodward's done some good stuff.
But it's on the pitch, and who are the most important people to a club are the fans. If the fans start seeing poor result after poor result after poor result, and they're not playing brilliant football, the fans won't stand for it. They've done protests before to not great effect. They could boycott games. They could do whatever they want.
But then Man United boycotting, it's like because of the size of Man United, it's like, well, if you don't go, I'll go, or if we don't go, somebody else will just go.
Exactly.
Because the global reach that they've got is massive.
But then, like, a lot of United fans complain about their owners. But I'm telling you now, there are fans of obviously like Blackpool, Blackburn, like smaller clubs, Bury as well. You'll sit there and go, "You're moaning about your owners and the money you get put into your club. Are you joking?"
Well, funny you say that. Obviously, there are
obviously
clubs
Blackpool
lower down the
that
pyramids.
have come out of it, or like after the Oystons have.
But then there is this thing of comparison between the two Manchester clubs. Since the City owners have been in it, they've put $1 billion into the club, whereas the Glazers have taken $1 billion out.
That's also the thing, is the owners at City haven't just done it for the team, like that starting 11 or that squad. They've built a stadium for the ladies team, who are doing amazing things in football right now. They've done it at academy level, where you're seeing the likes of Gracia at centre back, or Phil Foden come through, and they've also redone the whole training structure and how they want to do stuff. And you've seen it happen at Tottenham, where people go, "Oh yeah, but Levy's this, Levy's that." He's built you a new stadium, and you're actually doing quite well to balance the books. You look at how Arsenal did it. We didn't do it well.
Yeah, and I think with Spurs anyway, it's recently we've just had the 2 NFL games, and they've earned $4 million out of the games just through beer and food, because that is the stuff that goes straight into the football club, not the rent for the stadium or anything like that, because I think that rate is a fixed rate. So Spurs have just earned $4 million for 2 games that they didn't really have to do a lot for.
Exactly. Where you look at United, money is constantly being taken out of United, and that's why I say it is going to kill the club, because United was seen as this big club, all-conquering European club. They won a treble back in '99. You look, that's 20 years ago. They got a kit out this year celebrating it. They're playing in the Europa League. Like, that club on its standing alone shouldn't have to be playing in the Europa League. That club on its standing alone should be winning games against smaller teams. But then you look at the people behind the scenes, what they're doing for United aren't what they should be. Don't get me wrong, Ed Woodward, great commercial guy. But when it comes to football, he hasn't got a Scooby. Like, yeah, you can have a Chevrolet deal, an Adidas deal, but then again, the Adidas deal that he's got him has now been topped by the one Arsenal got by Adidas.
I think there was a clause in that deal as well, where if Man United didn't qualify for the Champions League, then a certain of it gets cut. And I think also, from what I've read recently, Chevrolet looking to cut ties because they're getting fed up, basically, of United's performance on the pitch. So,
And you look at that, and they've got that, obviously the wine deal with it's a Chilean wine. I can't remember because
it's not Alexis Sanchez, is it?
No. Because I heard this amazing story by Rio Ferdinand, who was doing an interview, and he turned around and went, there was a game and none of the lads were really too up for it, and Sir Alex brought in these lads and they all lined up against the wall, and this was just after they had the Chilean wine deal, and he went, see these lads? And like the whole training session stopped there in the gym. He went, these were lads that had been stuck underground for 3 months in the Chilean mines, and they were a team. You have to go and see what they suffered through. You're struggling to play as a team. The next day they went out and absolutely battered the side, because he walks into a changing room the day of the game. He went, and someone went, Gaffer, what's the team talk today? He went, I don't need a team talk. If you can't perform for what I showed you yesterday, you don't deserve to be at this club. Like, that was the level Fergie was at. He'll do that, the little things to get things done. It doesn't matter what was happening at board level when Fergie was there, because they were getting results and they were getting trophies and they were doing so many good things. Where now you look at it, United aren't winning trophies, they aren't getting results on the pitch, the managers aren't working, the players aren't working. People start looking at the boardroom stuff and going, this is a bit sticky.
When you say United haven't won trophies, they've, in their so-called banter era, and since Fergie has left, they've won the Europa League, they've won the Community Shield, they've won the FA Cup, and they've won the League Cup. So there's 4 trophies in 7 years.
Which isn't bad. But what...
I know United fans want to win the league.
Community Shield, and as an Arsenal fan, we don't really count it.
You do.
I don't. So, I'm not counting it. Europa League, they shouldn't be having to compete for the Europa League. They should be competing for the Champions League constantly. The League Cup, all United fans are sitting there going, it's the League Cup. Like, yeah, cheers, but we'll leave this with Spurs, sort of thing, wasn't it? They were like, it's the League Cup. Doesn't really bother us. The FA Cup was one that they actually cared about, because it was trying to keep competition with Arsenal for the most trophies won, which is still Arsenal. So what, 1 out of the 4 trophies, the fans were actually like, like actually on about it and wanting it. Europa League a little bit, but still they were there like, I'd rather have gone and won a Champions League, or I would have rather have gone and seen this or that, or so. United's a tricky one. It really is a trick, because you look at even if you look at their squad, there's players that you put in that squad and you go, potential to be great, should be world class, potential to be great, world class keeper. And what are they, like 8th, 9th in the league?
And they're in the relegation. They're in. I mean, ESPN put them in the relegation battle. So I think they're 2-3 points off the bottom 3 at the minute.
Yeah, and you're sitting there going, that's Man United. Like, this isn't FIFA. This is real life. United should not be anywhere near this level of poor performance, and that's what it is. It's just poor. Like, we sat there and spoke about Spurs and how they're having a bit of a downturn. It's like, Spurs are having a downturn. They used to finish 15th a few years ago. United are having a downturn now because they used to finish first 7 years ago. And it's mental to see the drop off since one man's realistically left. It's not Okay.
So, final one from me.
Yeah.
Where are Man United going to finish this season?
Well, I put them in my top 6, which is I said 5th, and dropped Chelsea out. I'll have to review that because they're pushing. I'd say 8th would be a good season for them at this rate. I really, really do, unless they get someone in. Because there's talk of Allegri with how he's learning English for other Spurs United. To be honest, I wouldn't want either of those jobs right now. Spurs are a more attractive option realistically, which is mental to say that Spurs are a more attractive option than United. I'm saying 8th, if they're lucky. Because you're looking at it, Arsenal, not much better than them, but are better than them. Leicester are better than them. Chelsea are better than them. Spurs are better than them. City and Liverpool are playing in a different league. West Ham are better than them. You really think Fergie would have taken that loss 2-0 away at West Ham with that performance as well? Fergie would have killed them. It's mental. Okay, my last one to you. If United finish out of the top 6,
yeah,
which they are, let's say they finish outside the top 8,
yeah,
does Ollie keep his job?
No, personally, because commercially it would be a disaster. It would be an absolute car crash because Man United do not have European football, so therefore you can almost disregard the fact that it's Man United because the name's only going to get you so far, and go, right, yeah, you're Man United. Oh, we're Man United and we've got Champions League. Oh, we're Man United and we've got Europa League football. We're just Man United. You can see our, your advertisement will be seen at Premier League games, right? Pictures beamed around the world.
Yeah.
FA Cup games and League Cup games. That's it. So, yeah, commercially, Manchester United need to be bare minimum European football. So I think if they don't achieve European football, he'll be gone. If he achieves European football, he'll stay. So that could mean that they finish outside the top 6, top 8, but still get there because they can win a cup. Do I see Manchester United winning a cup? No. But then, they could finish mid-table and end up in the Champions League next season because they could win the Europa League. That's how crazy football and sport is.
Yeah.
So, but if none of that happens, I think it will be very, very hard to make a case for Ole to stay.
Also, the thing, if you're thinking about it, United next year with no European football, Pogba was supposed to be off this summer. He'll be off. Rashford might stay. Martial won't. Realistically, he'll have suitors if he has a good season. De Gea will have suitors. Maguire might have suitors. You're looking at a lot of that squad. If they don't have European football next year, it could be even worse for United than it is this year.
Yeah, and I mean, like you say, there will be issue. Players will want to go, and also they're going to shop in a completely different market to even the one that they were in this year, because you can forget about players coming really of any real note, because what have you got to offer them other than
you're playing for United? You're
playing for Man United and you're going to get paid very, very well, which can only go so far because players want to play in Europe at least.
That was the whole thing with Dybala, because it was like, if I'm not playing Champions League, I want more money.
Yeah.
Because I'm stepping down.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard for United. The next couple of years are going to be next few years are going to be tricky. Not alone a couple of years.
Yeah.
They have to get a real good manager in.
Yeah.
And hope.
Well, I don't know if obviously they give Ole the time to put right what he's been left with, but then ultimately patience will wear thin at some point if results on the pitch aren't improving and getting better.
Yeah.
So, though I hope Ole stays and they back him a little bit, yeah, because it's never nice to see a manager get the sack or whatever, and it also keeps the rumours of Poch going to Man United away a little bit.
But even that's not an attractive proposition for him, because what, you're going to go and rebuild a club in 10th again?
He's rebuilt Tottenham to a certain degree. The only thing is he just needs to put a trophy in the cabinet, and I think Spurs fans at the minute just don't care what it is.
Well, it ain't going to be a League Cup, is it?
No. So FA Cup realistically or nothing for Spurs anyway. But yeah, I think Man United, they're in a difficult situation, but they can get out of it if they're clever.
Yeah.
Which as we've discussed, they haven't been over the last 7 years or so.
Exactly.
Right, and guys, thank you very much for listening. Make sure you leave a like, a comment, and don't forget to subscribe as well. Peace out.